The academy on Lyra 7 was alive with noise and color. Students of many species moved through the wide corridors, their voices blending into a strange but harmonious symphony. Some floated using small anti-gravity belts, others had multiple limbs, and a few emitted soft glowing lights as they communicated. Humans were rare here, and the sight of one often drew curious glances. Kyle walked carefully among the crowd, his steps measured, his hands holding his datapad close. Unlike most of the alien cadets, he had no extra limbs, no glowing skin, and no way to float. Yet he moved with quiet confidence, though his human face often carried a hint of nervousness. Kale was not a showy person, nor was he loud, but he observed everything. On the other side of the hall, Lyra noticed him immediately. She had sharp green eyes that sparkled with mischief, and a smile that could make even the sternest instructor uneasy. She loved teasing, and new students were perfect targets. Today, her attention was caught by Kyle. "Look at him," she whispered to her friend, a small, blue-skinned alien with 3 eyes. "So serious. I wonder if he ever smiles." Her friend giggled. "He is human. Maybe humans do not smile like us." Lyra's grin widened. "Oh, I will teach him how to have fun." Kale, unaware of her words, was reading about the orbital patterns of Lyra 7's moons. His mind was filled with numbers, probabilities, and star charts. The data fascinated him. To him, this was normal. To Lyra, it was strange and perfect material for teasing. She slid closer and tapped him on the shoulder. Kale looked up immediately, startled. "Yes?" he asked, his voice calm but cautious. "You read all these charts like a robot," Lyra said with mock seriousness. "Do humans ever play, or do you just stare at numbers all day?" Kyle blinked. He was not used to being teased, especially not in such a bold way. I study patterns. That is how I learn," he replied. Lyra tilted her head, smiling. "Patterns, huh? Sounds boring. Come on, live a little." Despite her teasing, Kyle's eyes did not narrow in anger. Instead, he studied her. There was something in the way she moved, her confidence and energy, that made him curious. He had rarely met someone like Lyra, and her playful nature was unlike anything on Earth. "Why do you tease me?" he asked, genuinely. "Because it's fun," Lyra said, waving her hands as if it were obvious. "And because you look so serious all the time. It is entertaining." Kale hesitated. On Earth, teasing often had sharp edges, but this felt different. It was not meant to hurt, it was playful. He decided to respond honestly. "I suppose I could try being less serious, but I am not sure how." Lyra laughed, a bright musical sound that echoed down the hall. "Good! We will start your training. Lesson 1, how to smile like a Lyrian." Kale raised an eyebrow, unsure whether she was joking. "Training?" "Yes. You are my new project," she said dramatically, spinning once before leaning closer. "Don't worry, it won't hurt. Mostly." Their conversation drew glances from passing students. Some whispered quietly, noting the strange pairing. Aliens who had never seen a human up close watched with fascination. Kyle noticed the attention but did not seem bothered. Lyra noticed it too, and that only made her more eager to continue. "You know," she said, lowering her voice slightly, "humans are said to be clever, but I doubt it. You just look so stiff." Kale, instead of arguing, smiled faintly. "I am observing. Cleverness is not always obvious." Lyra blinked. "Huh. Interesting. Maybe you are smarter than I thought." She paused, then laughed. "Or maybe you just pretend to be smart so no one notices your awkwardness." Kyle chuckled lightly. It was the first time Lyra saw him truly smile. She leaned back, surprised. His smile was not flashy or loud, but there was something honest and quiet about it. "You smile differently than anyone here," she said, curious. "It's calm." Kale shrugged. I smile when it is needed. Lyra tilted her head again. I will need to test that theory. The bell rang, signaling the start of the morning session. Students hurried to their classes, leaving Kale and Lyra behind for a moment. Lyra gave him a wink. We will meet again. Don't forget, you need to learn to enjoy life. Kyle nodded, feeling strangely intrigued. I look forward to it. The first class of the day was Introduction to Galactic Cultures. Kyle had read about many alien civilizations, but seeing them in person was different. Each species had unique ways of speaking, moving, and expressing themselves. Some used colors, some sounds, some subtle body movements. Kyle tried to note everything, scribbling on his datapad quickly. Lyra, on the other hand, leaned back, watching the classroom with amusement. She noticed how Kale's human perspective was precise and deliberate, unlike most aliens who relied heavily on instinct or emotion. It fascinated her. During a group exercise, students were asked to solve a communication puzzle. Kale and Lyra ended up in the same team. She whispered to him, "Try not to overthink it. Sometimes you just need to feel the pattern." Kale considered her words carefully. Sometimes? He asked quietly. Yes, sometimes, she said, nudging him gently. Together, they began working on the puzzle. Kale's analytical mind quickly recognized the logical sequences, while Lyra's intuition helped them notice hidden patterns that were not obvious. It was an unusual partnership, human logic meeting alien instinct, but it worked. By the end of the exercise, their team had completed the puzzle faster than any other group. Lyra clapped him on the back enthusiastically. See? Told you humans could be fun when they try. Kale looked at her and smiled softly. I think I am learning something new, too. Lyra raised her eyebrows. Oh? What's that? Not all teasing is unpleasant, he said. Lyra laughed again, a sound full of warmth. Good. That is lesson 2. You are progressing faster than I expected. After class, the hallway emptied a little, leaving them alone. Lyra nudged him with her elbow. Tomorrow, we start lesson 3, how to dance in zero gravity without falling. Kale frowned slightly but nodded. I will try. I am not sure I will succeed. That is the spirit, she said, smiling brightly. Failure is just another way to learn. Plus, it will be fun to see you flop around. Despite her teasing, Kale did not feel mocked. He felt challenged, intrigued, and oddly comfortable. Lyra's energy was infectious. He realized that, for the first time in a long while, he wanted to participate, not just observe. The sun set over Lyra 7, casting golden streaks across the city. Lights from the academy glimmered, reflecting on the smooth metal surfaces of the tall towers. Kyle walked to his quarters, thinking about Lyra, her laughter, and the strange mix of fun and challenge she brought into his structured life. Meanwhile, Lyra stood on a balcony watching him leave. She had expected to tease him once or twice and then move on. But something about the human intrigued her. He was serious, quiet, and unassuming. But there was depth there, a spark she could not ignore. She whispered to herself, almost unconsciously, maybe humans are more interesting than I thought. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this was just the beginning. The next morning, the Academy's halls buzzed with excitement. Students moved quickly toward the Starship Simulator, a massive chamber filled with glowing panels, holographic displays, and the faint hum of advanced technology. Today was special. Every cadet would participate in their first mission simulation. It was meant to test teamwork, problem-solving, and adaptability. Kyle walked in carefully, his hands brushing against the smooth railing as he scanned the room. He had spent hours studying simulations, but real practice always felt different. He noticed Lyra waiting near one of the ships, her green eyes sparkling with mischief. She waved at him, her grin wide. Ready for lesson 3? She asked, her tone teasing. Or are you going to hide behind those charts again? Kyle smiled faintly. I am ready, he said. I hope you are prepared too. Always, she said confidently. But let's see if you survive my next challenge. The instructors began assigning teams. Lyra and Kale were paired together, much to Lyra's delight and Kale's quiet curiosity. They were tasked with a simulated mission to a distant, uncharted planet. The objective: map the planet's surface, identify resources, and establish initial contact with any intelligent life. As they entered the simulator, Kale's mind focused immediately. He scanned the controls, reviewing the ship's navigation system and analyzing the holographic map projected in front of him. Lyra, meanwhile, leaned casually in her seat, her fingers dancing over buttons and switches almost playfully. Are you just going to stare at the screen all day? She asked. Come on. Pilot. Kale chuckled. I am observing patterns. It helps us plan. Lyra tilted her head. Patterns? Maybe humans are boring after all. They lifted off smoothly, the simulator humming around them. Stars streaked past as if they were traveling at faster than light speed. Kyle's attention to detail became immediately apparent. He noticed subtle changes in gravitational pull, the behavior of simulated space dust, and the timing of asteroid movements. Hey, Lyra said, pointing at the display, do you always see things no one else notices? Kale shrugged. I notice what is useful. You might call it strategy. Lyra leaned back, impressed despite herself. Maybe I underestimated humans. Suddenly, a simulated meteor storm appeared on the holographic screen, closing in on their ship. The instructor's voice echoed in the cabin. Warning! Severe meteor storm! Navigate safely! Lyra gasped. Kale, do something! I don't want to crash in my first mission! Kale's hands moved steadily, adjusting the ship's shields and trajectory. He analyzed the patterns of the meteors, predicting their paths before they even appeared. Lyra held onto the seat as the simulator shook violently, trying to anticipate the changes in momentum. You're calm, Lyra said, almost in awe, her voice barely audible over the storm. I would have panicked! Kyle didn't look at her. Panic doesn't help. Observation does. Minutes passed and the storm began to fade. The ship was unharmed, thanks to Kale's precise control and Lyra's quick reflexes. Lyra leaned back, exhaling deeply. I can't believe we made it through. You're incredible. Kyle allowed himself a small smile. It is not about being incredible. It is about focus. As the simulation continued, the mission took them to a planet with strange purple vegetation and floating rock formations. Their task: make initial contact with the planet's intelligent species, the Elurians. These beings communicated with soft pulses of light, a language unfamiliar to most cadets. Great, Lyra muttered. We need to figure out light language. Just what I needed. Kyle observed the Elurian patterns carefully. It is not as complicated as it seems, he said calmly. They respond to repetition and symmetry. Watch. He mimicked a pattern of pulses using the ship's light communicator. Slowly, the Elurians mirrored it back, showing curiosity rather than hostility. Lyra blinked. That actually worked. Humans are amazing. Kale shrugged again, almost modestly. It is logic, not magic. Lyra laughed, shaking her head. Logic and precision. You humans are strange, but effective. During the next phase, the simulator presented a moral dilemma. A nearby colony on the planet's surface needed help, but aiding them could compromise the mission's primary objective. Most cadets hesitated or panicked. Kyle studied the data carefully, weighing the risks and benefits. We can help them without risking the main mission, he said. We adjust the shield projection slightly and redirect some energy. Minimal risk, maximum aid. Lyra's jaw dropped. You thought of that. Instantly. Kale nodded. Patterns reveal solutions. Sometimes the solution is in combining logic with action. They executed the plan, successfully aiding the colony while keeping their main mission intact. The instructors were impressed, and Lyra's eyes shone with newfound admiration. I have to admit, she said quietly, you're impressive. Smarter and braver than I imagined. Kyle looked at her with calm honesty. I am only doing what seems right. For Lyra, this was a turning point. She had begun the day teasing Kale, expecting to see a stiff, awkward human. Instead, she had witnessed focus, bravery, and creativity that matched or even exceeded the best alien cadets. After the simulation, the cadets gathered for debriefing. The instructors praised their teamwork and innovation. Lyra could not stop glancing at Kyle, thinking about how her view of humans had changed. Good work, both of you, said the lead instructor, a tall alien with silver wings. This is exactly the kind of thinking that advances understanding between species. Kale, your calm analysis, and Lyra, your intuition, created a perfect combination. Lyra smirked, but felt a flush of pride. Thank you, she said softly. Then, almost to herself, she added, humans aren't boring after all. Kyle noticed her glance. Neither are aliens when they try, he said gently, earning a small laugh from her. Later, as the cadets left the simulator, Lyra nudged Kale. So what do you think of Lyra 7 now? She asked, teasing once more. Kale considered her question. It is challenging, exciting, strange, but full of opportunity. Lyra smiled brightly. Good answer. You're learning my language of fun and adventure already. Kale allowed himself a slightly larger smile than before. Perhaps I am. The day ended with both of them walking under the soft glow of Lyra 7's twin moons. Lyra's laughter echoed faintly, and Kyle felt a strange warmth at hearing it. He realized he looked forward to tomorrow's lessons. Lessons in observation, patterns, and unexpectedly, friendship. Meanwhile, Lyra reflected on the day. Teasing had led to something more. Understanding. Kale was unlike anyone she had met. Not just clever or skilled, but thoughtful, careful, and unexpectedly brave. She had started the day thinking humans were simple, even awkward. Now she realized they were complex, resilient, and full of hidden depth. Lesson 1, she whispered to herself, smiling at the stars. Never underestimate humans. And lesson 2, humans can teach even Lyrians a few things. Kyle, walking a few steps ahead, didn't hear her words. But he felt the shift. He knew their connection was more than just chance. Lyra's energy complemented his calmness perfectly. Together they could face anything, even challenges beyond the academy. The twin moons reflected in their eyes, a quiet promise of adventures yet to come. And deep down, both of them sensed that today's mission was only the beginning of something extraordinary. The academy library was quiet, except for the soft hum of hovering drones carrying books from one shelf to another. Light from the large windows fell across rows of ancient texts, some so old their covers were worn almost to nothing. Lyra wandered through the aisles, her curiosity pulling her deeper into the library than she usually ventured. Today, she was not looking to tease anyone or play games. She was searching. Her green eyes caught a small, dusty book tucked between two large alien tomes. The cover had a symbol she did not recognize, and a single word printed boldly. Earth. She pulled it free and flipped it open. The pages were filled with pictures, maps, and writings about a distant planet, one far away from Lyra 7. She frowned slightly. Earth. What a simple name for a planet, she whispered. The book described humans, their history, their struggles, and their achievements. Lyra read about civilizations building cities, surviving natural disasters, and reaching beyond their world into space. She turned the pages quickly, absorbing everything. Something in her chest tightened. This was not the weak, simple species she had assumed. Kale approached quietly, holding his datapad. He noticed the book in her hands. "You found it," he said. Lyra looked up, slightly embarrassed. I didn't know humans had such a long history. I always thought Earth was just ordinary." Kale smiled softly. "Earth is more than ordinary. Our history is full of survival and adaptation. Humans learn to work together, to create tools, to explore the unknown." She tilted her head. "I see. You make it sound heroic." "It is," he said simply. "Not because we are strong, but because we endure. Humans make mistakes, yes, but we keep going." Lyra sat down on a soft bench, still holding the book. "I never realized humans had so much depth, so much courage and determination. It's very different from what I expected." Kyle sat beside her. "I think most species underestimate humans. You see a young human, and you think they are weak or simple. But experience teaches otherwise." She looked at him thoughtfully. "Is that why you are so calm? Even during the simulator mission, you didn't panic. You observed and acted. That is very human, isn't it?" Kale nodded. "It is. We rely on reasoning and intuition together. Sometimes patterns are clear, sometimes they are hidden, but we keep searching." Lyra ran her fingers over the pages of the book. "I have always thought humans were small, fragile, maybe even insignificant." She paused, then whispered, "I was wrong." Kale's eyes met hers. "It is easy to judge from appearances, but every species has strengths. Humans are different, not weaker." Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest, a mix of admiration and curiosity. She realized that her teasing of Kale before had been based on misunderstanding. She had laughed at him because he seemed quiet and unassuming. Now, she could see the truth. Humans were quiet but capable, thoughtful but courageous. She looked back at the images of Earth's cities, forests, and oceans. The planet seemed alive, full of color and movement, just like the Lyrians' home, but different in its own way. "Earth, such a small word for a planet that has done so much," she said softly. Kale leaned slightly closer. "Names do not always reflect importance. Sometimes the smallest things hide the greatest stories." Lyra smiled faintly. "I like that. It makes me think differently. About humans. About you." Kyle raised an eyebrow. "About me?" "Yes," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I thought you were just a human to tease. Now I see something more, something impressive." Kyle's expression softened. "I am glad you see it. It took time and experience." Lyra nodded, turning another page. She read about the first human explorers who had traveled to space, barely able to survive in fragile ships, yet determined to reach the stars. She read about humans working together, helping each other, and creating tools that allowed them to thrive in harsh environments. "These humans," she murmured, "they survive. Even when everything seems impossible, they keep moving forward." Kyle smiled faintly. "That is true. We face challenges, but we adapt. We find solutions, not excuses." Lyra's eyes met his again. "It is inspiring. You, as a human, carry all of that within you, and I never realized it before." Kale felt a small warmth of pride, but he kept his voice calm. "I only do what I can. Every human contributes to that story in some way." She closed the book gently. "I want to know more," she said. Not just about Earth, but about your people. How you think, how you survive, how you live. Kyle nodded. I can show you, but you must be patient. There is much to learn. Lyra grinned. I am patient. Maybe too patient. She laughed softly. But I think learning from you will be worth it. Over the next few hours, Kyle explained more about Earth. The way humans built civilizations, the ways they adapted to extreme environments, and the innovations that allowed them to explore beyond their planet. Lyra listened intently, asking questions, sometimes teasing lightly, but always with genuine interest. What is this? She asked, pointing at a diagram showing a human spacecraft. It looks fragile. Kyle chuckled. It is fragile compared to Lyrian ships, yes, but it works. Humans built it to survive harsh conditions, to carry people safely into space. Strength does not always come from size or armor. It comes from careful planning and understanding the environment. Lyra shook her head in amazement. I never thought of it that way. I thought only Lyrians could handle space travel. Kyle smiled faintly. Space is vast, but determination crosses all boundaries. Humans are not as strong as some species, but we are resourceful. She leaned back, her eyes thoughtful. Resourceful, clever, brave, all qualities I didn't expect in humans. I see now why you succeeded in the simulator. It is part of your nature. Kale's gaze softened. I think humans surprise many. We are underestimated, but we find ways to endure. That is what makes us capable. Lyra nodded slowly. Earth's name. It carries all of that history, all of that courage, all of that endurance, and I never appreciated it before. Kyle's voice was gentle. Sometimes it takes seeing the story behind the name to understand its meaning. Not just a word, but the people it represents. Lyra looked down at her hands, feeling a mix of admiration and humility. She realized her teasing had been a mask for her own assumptions. Now, she saw humans differently, not weak, not ordinary, but strong in ways that were quiet, yet powerful. She finally looked up, her green eyes shining. Thank you, Kyle, for helping me see this, for showing me what humans can really do. Kyle nodded, his calm smile unwavering. It was not just me, it is all humans. I only carry the story forward. They sat together quietly, the library's soft lights casting gentle shadows around them. Lyra thought about Earth, about its resilience, and about Kale. A new sense of respect filled her, one that had never existed before. She realized that teasing could not capture the true spirit of a species. Only understanding could. As the sun of Lyra 7 began to set, painting the library in warm gold, Lyra closed the book and stood. I think tomorrow we should start another lesson, she said, her voice playful but sincere. Kale raised an eyebrow. Another lesson? Yes, she said with a smile. Lesson 4. Understanding humans beyond appearances. You, me, and maybe a little adventure along the way. Kale allowed himself a small chuckle. I look forward to it. Lyra felt a lightness she had never experienced before. What had started as teasing had transformed into curiosity, admiration, and a desire to understand. Earth's name had changed her view, not only of humans, but also of the world she thought she knew. As they left the library together, Lyra glanced back at the book on the table. She whispered softly, almost to herself. Earth. Such a simple name, yet so powerful. Kale walked beside her, unaware of the whisper, yet feeling the bond growing stronger. Something unspoken connected them now, a mutual respect grounded in knowledge, experience, and a shared understanding that strength often comes in unexpected forms. And so, under the twin moons of Lyra 7, the first seeds of admiration and friendship were planted, seeds that would grow with every mission, every lesson, and every shared moment of discovery. The morning sky over Lyra 7 shimmered with the soft glow of the twin suns. Kyle and Lyra stood on the Academy landing pad, staring at the starship before them. Today was different. Today was not a simulator. Today they were embarking on a real mission, one that would test everything they had learned and more. Their objective was clear: navigate the uncharted asteroid belt of the Xeron system, map its resources, and collect samples for potential colonization. Many cadets had failed similar missions during training, often overwhelmed by the unpredictability of the asteroid fields. Kale, calm as always, adjusted his uniform and ran through the flight calculations in his head. Lyra, on the other hand, bounced on her heels, excitement sparkling in her green eyes. "Ready to see if humans are truly capable?" she teased, nudging him lightly. Kyle gave a small smile. "I do not think humans need to prove themselves, but I am ready." They entered the ship. Its interior was sleek and designed for agility, with holographic displays and ergonomic controls. Lyra leaned against the console, fingers tracing the buttons with playful curiosity. Kale slid into the pilot's seat, scanning the asteroid belt on the main screen. "Remember," he said calmly, "this is not a game. One mistake could damage the ship or put us in danger." "Thanks for the pep talk," Lyra said, grinning. "I was worried we might survive by accident." Kale ignored the comment, focusing on the coordinates. The asteroid belt stretched before them, a chaotic jumble of rocks of every size, spinning slowly in space. Sensors showed micrometeor activity, hidden gravitational fields, and fluctuating energy readings. "Stay alert," Kale said, guiding the ship carefully. "We move slowly, observe patterns, and anticipate movements. Patience is our best tool." Lyra watched, fascinated. "You are so calm, even with a wall of rocks heading toward us. Humans really are different." Hours passed as they navigated through the belt. Kyle's hands moved steadily, adjusting shields and engines with precise timing. Lyra monitored the sensors, pointing out anomalies that he might have missed. Together, they worked like a perfect team. Kyle with logic, Lyra with instinct. Suddenly, an alert flashed across the display. A cluster of fast-moving meteors appeared directly in their path, faster than predicted. Lyra gasped. "Kale! What now?" she shouted, gripping the console. Kale's eyes narrowed slightly. "Divert thrusters to the left. Adjust shields incrementally. Timing is critical. Follow my lead." The ship jolted as it dodged the meteors, gliding between the rocks with precision. Lyra's heart raced, but she followed his instructions, trusting his calm command. Within moments, they had cleared the immediate danger. Lyra exhaled. "You make it look so easy. I would have panicked for sure." Kyle's voice was quiet but firm. "Panic wastes energy. Observation saves lives." As they resumed their journey, sensors picked up an unusual energy signature. A small research vessel, abandoned or damaged, floated among the asteroids. Lyra's curiosity piqued. "We should check it out," she said. Kyle nodded. "Agreed. It may contain valuable data." They guided the ship closer. The vessel appeared fragile, its hull cracked and sparking. Life support systems were offline. Inside, a single alien researcher sat in suspended animation, preserved by emergency protocols. Lyra frowned. "We can't leave them here, but it's risky. One wrong move, and we could be trapped." Kyle's calm demeanor did not falter. "We can stabilize their ship remotely. Follow my instructions exactly." For the next hour, they worked together. Kyle coordinated the shields and tractor beams, while Lyra monitored power levels and structural integrity. Every adjustment was precise. Sweat beaded on Lyra's forehead as she executed his instructions perfectly. Finally, the research vessel's systems stabilized. The alien researcher woke, blinking in confusion but unharmed. Lyra's eyes widened. "We did it! You really are amazing, Kyle!" Kyle allowed himself a small smile. It was teamwork. Both of us contributed. The rescued researcher communicated their gratitude through light pulses, which Lyra translated for Kyle. He nodded. Their species will remember this. Cooperation is universal. With the researcher safe, they continued through the asteroid belt. Soon they reached the heart of the field, where the largest and most dangerous rocks were concentrated. Kale's mind worked like a supercomputer, calculating trajectories, speeds, and gravitational pulls. Lyra, he said, we need to split our focus. I handle navigation. You monitor energy fluctuations. We cannot afford mistakes now. She nodded. Got it. Let's do this. The ship weaved expertly through the dense rocks. Meteors bounced off shields, and debris spun dangerously close. Lyra's instincts guided minor adjustments, while Kale's calculations kept the ship on course. Time seemed to stretch as they moved together, each action precise, each command perfectly timed. Finally, they reached a calm area, a small pocket of space with floating minerals and crystalline formations. Lyra's eyes sparkled. We made it! Look at all this! Kyle scanned the samples. This is valuable data. The Academy will be pleased. They carefully collected samples, storing them in secure containers. Every movement was deliberate, ensuring nothing was damaged. Lyra watched Kale with admiration. You're not just smart. You're brave too. Calm in danger. I never expected that from a human. Kyle looked at her. Bravery is often quiet. It is not about show, but about persistence and careful action. Lyra smiled softly. I think I understand now. Your species. You are full of surprises. As they prepared to leave, a sudden micrometeor storm erupted, smaller than before but unpredictable. The ship shuddered as Kale adjusted shields and engines instantly. Lyra assisted, following his lead. Every decision had to be fast, precise, and synchronized. Minutes felt like hours as they navigated the storm. Finally, they emerged safely, battered but intact. Lyra exhaled deeply, her green eyes shining with exhilaration. You didn't panic once, she said, half in awe, half in admiration. I think I see why humans are respected among other species. Your calmness, your reasoning, it saves lives. Kale allowed himself a faint smile. It is not about respect. It is about responsibility. Every action has consequences. The asteroid belt behind them glimmered faintly in the distance as they set course for Lyra 7. Lyra leaned back, her usual playful demeanor softened by the day's experiences. She realized she had learned more than just Kale's abilities. She had glimpsed the essence of humans: courage, determination, and careful judgment under pressure. When they returned to the academy, instructors praised their mission. Lyra felt a quiet pride, not just for herself, but for Kyle. She realized that teasing him had led to admiration, and admiration had turned into respect. Later, as they walked under the twilight sky, Lyra looked at Kyle. I have to admit, I was wrong about humans. You are extraordinary, not just in skill, but in spirit. Kale looked at her, calm but honest. Thank you. I only do what I can. Humans are capable of more than appearances suggest. Lyra laughed softly. I suppose I will need many lessons to understand humans fully, but I am willing to try. Kale's faint smile suggested he knew she would. I will teach you as much as I can. They reached the academy dorms, the twin moons reflecting softly on the glassy towers. Lyra paused, glancing back at the starship. Today was unforgettable. I think I see now why humans are respected across the galaxy. Quiet, clever, and persistent. You never give up no matter how difficult the challenge. Kyle nodded. That is part of what makes humans human. For Lyra, the day had been a revelation. She had started by teasing a human cadet, expecting fun and mischief. She had ended by witnessing courage, intelligence, and resilience. Earth's legacy lived in Kyle, and she could not help but feel a deep respect for the species he represented. As they parted for the evening, Lyra whispered to herself, almost in awe, "Earth, and the humans who come from it. I will never underestimate them again." Kyle, walking to his quarters, did not hear the words. But the bond between them had deepened, unspoken but powerful. Mutual respect had replaced playful teasing, and a shared understanding had formed, one that would guide them through the challenges yet to come. The twin moons shone brightly over Lyra 7, illuminating the promise of further adventures. Lyra and Kale had faced danger together, learned from each other, and discovered that true strength was often hidden in calm determination. And somewhere deep inside, both of them knew that this mission was only the beginning of much greater journeys. The academy was quiet in the early morning, bathed in the soft golden light of Lyra 7's twin suns. The mission had ended, and the cadets were settling back into routine. But Lyra felt different. She walked through the corridors with a sense of calm energy, her green eyes reflecting thoughts that went far beyond the walls of the academy. Kyle was in the training hall, reviewing the data from the asteroid belt mission. Holographic displays showed asteroid trajectories, mineral samples, and the energy readings of the research vessel they had rescued. Everything was precise, every detail accounted for. He was quiet, focused, and completely in his element. Lyra entered quietly, watching him for a moment before speaking. "Kyle." He looked up, calm and attentive. "Good morning, Lyra. How are you feeling?" She smiled softly. "Changed." Kyle raised an eyebrow. "Changed?" "Yes," she said, walking closer. "Today, I realized something. Not just about you, but about your species. Humans, you are remarkable, thoughtful, careful, brave, and resilient." Kale's expression softened. "I am glad you understand, but it is not only me. Every human carries that spirit." Lyra nodded. "I can see it now. Earth, the name, the history, the people. I underestimated all of it. I underestimated you, and I was wrong." Kyle's calm voice held no pride, only quiet truth. "Understanding comes from observation and experience. You have experienced it. That is what matters." She looked at him, her usual playful grin replaced by sincerity. "I have never met someone like you. Not just because you are a human, but because of who you are. Your courage, your calmness, your wisdom." Kale studied her for a moment. "Thank you. I only act as I must. It is not extraordinary, only necessary." "Necessary or not," Lyra said, smiling, "it taught me a lesson I will never forget. One small name, Earth, changed everything I thought I knew." They walked together to the observation deck overlooking the academy grounds. Students moved below like tiny colored specks, aliens of all shapes and sizes interacting in harmony. The twin moons hung low in the sky, reflecting off the glassy surfaces of the towers. Lyra's gaze lingered on the moons and then shifted to Kyle. "You know," she said softly, "I used to think teasing was harmless fun, but now I see that it can hide ignorance. I laughed at you because I did not understand. Now, I understand, and I respect you, and your people." Kale nodded slowly. "Respect is earned, but understanding makes it meaningful." She turned to face him fully, her voice quieter now, almost thoughtful. "Humans are not flashy. You do not need glowing skin or multiple limbs. You are quiet, ordinary in appearance. But inside, you are extraordinary. And I admire that." Kale's faint smile suggested he had expected this, but it was no less meaningful. Admiration is a form of recognition. Humans have learned to survive, to adapt, to work together. That is something many species overlook. Lyra laughed softly, shaking her head. I certainly overlooked it. I was so focused on appearances, on differences, that I missed what truly matters. They spent the next hour on the deck talking. Kyle described more about Earth, the way humans value knowledge, how they innovate under pressure, and how history shaped their persistence. Lyra asked questions, sometimes teasing lightly but mostly listening. Every word deepened her respect for him, for his people, and for the quiet power that came from determination and resilience. Do you know, Kale said quietly, that humans often start with very little, yet they find ways to achieve great things? That is why our history matters. It teaches us to endure and to think beyond what seems possible. Lyra nodded. I see that now. Your species has faced so much, yet you continue to grow. That is strength. Real strength. Kyle looked at her calmly. Strength is not always visible. It is not in appearances. It is in choices, in actions, in the will to continue. Lyra's green eyes glimmered with a new understanding. I thought I knew what strength was. I was wrong. I thought it was about size, power, or skill. But you, and your people, show me that strength is quiet, steady, and resilient. It is in surviving, in helping, and in learning. Kyle smiled faintly. Exactly. That is why humans are respected across galaxies, not because we are loud or flashy, but because we endure, adapt, and persevere. The sun dipped lower, and the golden light turned to deep amber. Lyra felt a sense of peace she had never experienced before. She realized that her teasing had been the beginning of a journey that led her to understanding and admiration. You know, Kale, she said, her voice soft. I think teasing is only fun if it comes from understanding. I laughed at you because I did not see the truth. Now, I want to learn from it. Kyle inclined his head. Learning is always the first step to understanding. You have taken it willingly. That is commendable. Lyra smiled, her playful energy returning, though tempered by respect. Then Lesson 5 begins. Learning from humans. Starting with you. Kyle allowed himself a faint chuckle. I will teach you as much as I can. But you must remember observation is key, patience is essential, and respect guides understanding. I will remember, Lyra said. I want to understand humans, not just the species, but the people, the spirit behind the name Earth. The evening air was cool and quiet as they walked through the academy gardens. Alien plants glowed softly, their colors shifting with each movement of the twin moons. Students wandered around, enjoying the peace after a day of rigorous training. Lyra and Kale moved in quiet harmony, their steps slow, deliberate, and comfortable. You know, Lyra said, glancing at him, today I realized something else. Teasing is not harmless if it blinds you to the truth, but understanding can change everything. And you and Earth have changed everything I thought I knew. Kale's calm eyes met hers. Sometimes it takes experience and patience to see clearly. One small name can hold an entire story if you are willing to learn it. She smiled, soft and genuine. Earth. I will never forget it. I will never forget humans. I see them now, as strong, clever, and capable of so much. And I see you, Kyle, as the example of all that strength. Kyle nodded quietly, allowing the compliment to stand without reply. In that moment, there was a quiet understanding between them, a bond formed not by teasing or challenge, but by respect, shared experience, and the recognition of true strength. As the twin moons rose high above Lyra 7, their light reflecting in the calm waters of the academy ponds, Lyra whispered to herself, almost in awe, Earth, one word. yet it carries so much. One species, yet it can teach so much. And Kyle, you are its living example. Kyle, walking beside her, did not hear the words, but the connection was unmistakable. Mutual respect had replaced playful teasing, admiration had replaced judgment, and curiosity had blossomed into understanding. Together, they had faced danger, learned from one another, and discovered the quiet strength that lay behind appearances. The stars above shimmered, each one a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the endless opportunities for learning, growth, and discovery. Lyra felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had been teased into curiosity, challenged into understanding, and now inspired into admiration. Earth's name had changed her entire perspective, not only of humans, but of what it meant to be brave, resourceful, and resilient. "Tomorrow," she said quietly, "we start a new journey, not just as cadets, but as explorers, together." Kyle glanced at her, calm but approving. Together. And so, under the twin moons of Lyra 7, the bond between human and alien deepened. Teasing had led to respect, curiosity had led to understanding, and one small name, Earth, had changed everything, showing that true strength was often quiet, unseen but undeniable. The Academy, the stars, and the galaxy beyond all seemed to watch silently, witnessing the beginning of a friendship, and perhaps something greater, that would carry them through adventures yet to come.